Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
It seems like everyone has seen the drones flying overhead. What are they doing? Who do they belong to? Follow me down the rabbit hole to find out. Hello, friends, and welcome back to The Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Danny, and today we're talking about drones. So last week's episode and this week's episode were supposed to be one episode together. Instead, they both are their own episodes because there's just so much information that we have to cover. So we're talking about drones. Thank you to everyone that messaged me about the drones, about doing a current events episode. Here it is in 2 parts for you guys. And there's only 2 current events that I've covered. So we could go about current events forever and ever. But today it's just drones. So before we get started, thank you to Wise Wolf Gold for sponsoring The Rabbit Hole and Cult Chronicles. Guys, if you're looking for gold, silver, precious metals, whatever you might need, you want it delivered right to your front door, $50 a month. That's it. Comes right to your front door. You don't even have to leave the house. You don't even have to leave the couch, really. It comes right to you. So check them out. Go to rabbithole.gold if you're interested in getting a subscription. Okay. So, throughout December, drones have been spotted flying over the U.S. So, I got the first video around the 4th of December by a listener who told me that no one knew what they were. Basically, she just wanted to know if I knew anything. So, she sent me this video of a drone, actually, a couple videos of drones. And so, I went to social media, which is where I get some of my information from the rest of you. I was like, okay, guys, what is this? Let's comment down below to tell me what you think is going on with these drones in New Jersey. The one that she sent me, it was like drones in New Jersey. They seemed like they were maybe flying towards New York, and they were flying pretty erratically. Like they almost crashed into each other. So I asked people on social media, what's going on? You guys commented and you're like, it's not just New Jersey. They're actually all over the place. They've been seen all over the U.S. and all over the world. So they've been seen in New Mexico, Arizona, South Dakota, Nevada, Wyoming, Colorado, Minnesota, Ohio, California, Oregon, both Carolinas, Texas. But not only that, I mean, they've been spotted in the UK, Belgium, Germany, France, Russia, China, the Philippines, Australia, just to name a few. I mean, they've been spotted all over the place, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. So what the heck? What's going on with these drones? They have been seen flying over neighborhoods, restricted cities, like restricted areas, critical infrastructure, to include military installations, Picatinny Arsenal, and the Naval Weapons Station Earl, to name a couple of those. So they're flying in very peculiar places where you're like, why? Why? What are you looking for? What are you doing over these areas? And they've been causing like weird issues, specifically light issues. So I know in New Jersey, when there's drone activity, the lights in apartments and in houses are flickering. But not only that, because in Atlanta, there have been car lights flashing. So in one of the videos I watched, all the cars in this parking lot had their flashers on, but there wasn't any sound associated with the lights flashing. So it wasn't like their car alarms were going off. It's just like their hazards were on. But it wasn't every single car in the parking lot, but a good majority of the cars in the parking lot had their hazard lights on. It was noted in the video that most of the cars were Teslas, so I don't know if that has something to do with it because they're electric cars or what, but a lot of the cars had their flashers on, and it just seemed very odd because there was drone activity. The person in the video said it's because of the drones that these car lights are flashing. I don't know if you can say that for 100%, but that's what was going on in Atlanta. So the fact that the lights are being affected in different places means that they are having some sort of effect on lights. And we can kind of narrow it down to being the drones because the drones were active in both cases. So the FBI came out and they said they don't really know what the drones are or where they're coming from, and that they're investigating them. That they're just, we're going to figure it out. They're under investigation. Okay, but these guys figured out that it was Luigi Mangione that killed Brian Thompson that we covered last week in like 3 days, and they can't figure out where the drones are coming from or who they belong to. Seems a little suspicious to me. But either way, they urge people to stay calm and that there's no evidence suggesting the sightings pose a security threat. They assume that the drones were a combination of commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones. Although that doesn't explain why they've been spotted all over the world, unless everybody got a drone right before Christmas and started flying it. Like big drones, not small little baby drones, really big drones. Like somebody described the drone as the size of a sedan, like a car. So they're not small little drones, they're huge. But after a couple weeks of the drones being spotted basically all over New Jersey, the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, temporarily banned drone flights in 22 areas in New Jersey and 30 areas in New York. Reportedly, even an airport had temporarily shut down due to the drones. That was Stewart International Airport in New York. And airspace around Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio was restricted due to drone activity. But wait a minute. Isn't Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where Hangar 18 is? You know, the one where they took the aliens after they crashed in Roswell and they've been doing alien experiments. If you haven't listened to that episode, I'll link it in the show notes. It's actually really good. But it's interesting that these drones, some people speculate that they are UFOs. Why else would they be circling there? And there's also speculation that the drones are actually reverse engineered UFO crafts or like alien crafts. So if that's the case, and maybe they're coming out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and maybe that's why we're seeing them in that area. I don't know. Just speculating. The problem is all the officials that are telling us not to worry about the drones, that it's all fine, there's no security threat, blah, 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 they have destroyed their credibility in the past about basically everything. And so that's why conspiracy theories start to rear their heads, is because we can't really believe anything that's being told to us. And the fact that everyone's like, we don't know what's going on, but we'll figure it out. That doesn't seem to be a very good explanation for the general public. Not the general public. I guess there's plenty of people that believe that. But for people that don't necessarily always believe what's being fed to them, or that are even just a tiny bit skeptical, they've started looking for other reasons why these drones might be flying everywhere. And that's where I come in, because I have a list of all the different theories that people have come up with as to why these drones are here and what they're doing. So, what are those theories? I'm glad you asked. One of the theories is mass surveillance. Many people believe that drones are the government just like watching over us, that they're tracking our movements, our conversations, our actions, all without our consent. And they're trying to create patterns of life in places that they have deemed important. And maybe it's not just the government, but the deep state. They're wanting to enforce some sort of societal control over us, so they're monitoring us in order to be able to do that. And the deep state having something to do with this actually makes a lot of sense as to why the drones are worldwide and not just in the US. But why is it very specific places? Again, it could be because they've deemed those places important. It could be because maybe somebody's going to attack those places. That's why they're monitoring them. I don't really know why they've chosen certain places and not other places. But, this is one of the theories. And, people would be like, why would the government want to do that? Why would the deep state want to do that? Well, to create a new world order. Isn't that always the thing? Maybe the New World Order is behind this, and they want to do the Great Reset. Maybe an attack is being planned. Like I said, we don't really know why they're monitoring us. Control is a really good reason. I feel like everything always comes down to power and money. And those two things together, well, let's control the people. And actually, that's basically the next theory, is that these drones are weaponized. I mean, drones are being used more and more in warfare these days, basically to keep people out of the line of fire. They send in a drone. These drones can be equipped with weapons or guns to do different things. I don't know. Drones can be equipped with all kinds of things, right? Especially large drones. You can equip them with a lot of different things. There are a lot of different surveillance type things that drones can be equipped with. I'm trying not to say too much. But either way, I mean, these drones could be weaponized to use against us for whatever reason. But the theory is a little different than that. It's believed that these drones are being used in covert military operations and that they're targeting individuals or groups without public knowledge or oversight. But they also could be used for crowd control during protests, riots, or just regular gatherings. But I thought that we had the right to gather or the right to peaceful protests. But it seems like if they're going to weaponize these drones and have them around, they're going to try to prohibit those things. Or at least create a fear to where you don't want to do them. Another theory is that these drones are being used for biological or chemical distribution, similar to chemtrails, but this way, drones can get a lot closer and hit like a more targeted area. So if you have an area where you're like, I don't want this 1 block radius, you can hit it with a drone better than you can hit it with an airplane, because an airplane, you're going to get a chemtrail across the sky. Wherever it lands. That's it. It's just like mass production or mass coverage. A drone, you can get right up in there and distribute it in a much tighter area. This could be used to spread the next illness. Like they could be causing respiratory diseases or a number of different health problems. Or they could be planning another pandemic or trying to control the population. And population control could come in 2 different ways. Either with another illness, right? Like that could cause people to die, or by making people infertile. If you put the right things in the air and people are breathing it, they don't really have an option not to breathe. And even if they do hold their breath, how long can they hold their breath? And like when do they need to stop? Like when have they exited the area that's infected? People wouldn't know. It's basically impossible to know what you're breathing in if they're putting something in the air. If it's odorless and it doesn't look like anything. The holidays are over and things are calming down, but it's still gloomy and cold outside. The days are starting to get longer, but it's still dark by like 5 p.m. When I'm needing a little pick-me-up, I love to treat myself, and that's where Quince comes in. You guys might not know this about me, but I love to shop. But I don't love to spend a lot of money. Quince is everyday luxury at an affordable price. Something everyone needs in their closet, in my opinion, Quince's iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at $50, which are great for these gloomy cold days. Or, if you want to really up the luxe factor, check out their Italian leather handbags, washable silk skirts, and European linen sheet sets. I actually have 2 sets of sheets from them, and I live in leggings, and their leggings are so soft. Great for lounging and working out. Treat yourself this winter without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/rabbit for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/rabbit to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/rabbit. But also, they could be manipulating the weather with these drones. And we have seen some crazy weather over the past couple of months. And there has been so much talk about cloud seeding. Is this how they're seeding the clouds? But this could also be a way to stop rain. Like they could somehow absorb the water instead of causing it to rain. And not only that, but there has been a super strange fog lately. Have you guys noticed it in different large cities, different places all around the world? There's been this weird fog. And the fog is like these little white specks. It's not necessarily snow, and it really has no moisture at all. Almost like a dust or an ash, but with a chemical smell, and it's leaving like a white dusting everywhere and causing people to get sick. I mean, people in the area of the fog are reporting sinus issues, sleeping issues, a reduced appetite, and they're like, "Oh, I just got a cold." You just got a cold after you were in this weird fog? Like, that's strange, right? Like, nobody else is finding this strange. And the fact that it's falling all over the US and all over Europe and nobody's like questioning this. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Totally normal. It feels like that scary movie, Silent Hill. I don't know if that's the right one. I don't really watch scary movies, but anyway, feels very, very, very strange. But on the topic, some believe the drones are intentionally used to harm ecosystems, that they are being deployed under the guise of research or military testing, but they're actually destroying ecosystems. And I know what you're wondering, like, why would they do that? What's the point? It's probably so companies or developers can come in, take over the land, and do whatever they want. Build another, like, big manufacturing company or, like, use the land to build a warehouse. They could, it could be an Amazon distribution center. The developers could come in and create a whole subdevelopment so they could sell more houses. I mean, a number of different things. If you destroy the ecosystem, it's no longer a nature preserve or whatever because there's no nature there. Well, they can sell it now. Again, it comes down to power and money. But of course, there is the alien theory that maybe these drones aren't actually drones. In a couple of videos that have been sent to me or that I have seen, there are these drones that have this roundness to them, almost like a flying saucer would, right? So they look very round, very, like I said, UFO-esque. But there's this other video kind of going around that has this drone. It looks like almost maybe like a hexagon. It's got 6 lights, and then it's got like this other light that's circling it and going around it. So if the drone is flying horizontal, I'm trying to explain this in an audio only podcast. It makes it challenging. So if the drone is going horizontally, like on an x-axis, the rotating light is going around the drone, like in the center of it, but it's going around on the y-axis, if that makes any sense. I'm trying my best here. It's audio only, so I'm working on it. But I've seen a couple videos like that where it's been, and of course, these drones are so far away that people are zooming in, and the closer you get with your phone, it gets pretty blurry, and people point to that and they're like, well, if these are real drones or if these are real aliens, like, we have so much technology now that the videos would be more clear. Well, not necessarily, because if you stand outside at nighttime and you zoom into an airplane, it's not going to be a super clear picture. Like, it's an airplane from looking at it because of the way the lights are flashing, but you're not going to get a very clear picture of it. So then I actually got a comment on my post. They're like, well, you're just sharing this for likes and, for clout. And I was like, I don't care about clout. That's not really why I'm sharing this. I'm actually curious what people think is happening with these drones, but I appreciate your input, right? The point is, yes, we all have cameras now. No, they're not going to be the clearest picture every single time, especially when they're zoomed in that much. Like, it's just not going to happen. But then the question becomes basically like, is this an alien attack or is it just aliens monitoring us? Like, people have always theorized that the aliens are monitoring us or they're just like watching us. That's been something that's been around for decades. It's not anything new. There's been UFO sightings, alien sightings for a long time now. But it brings to question, like, maybe they're just sick of hiding it. Now they're just like out in the open. Or is it Project Bluebeam? So this was a super popular comment on my post on social media. As people are like, oh yeah, everyone knows this Project Bluebeam. Well, if you don't know, Project Bluebeam is a government project where they project images into the sky that look real to show, basically to show a fake alien invasion. Although they could show a fake anything. I think in my episode, I put that they would show like a fake Jesus coming from the sky, as in like he's coming back. They could put anything into the sky. with this Project Bluebeam. But with this theory, basically none of the drones are real. They're simply a projection to create fear. And I don't think that's necessarily 100% the case. I think that there are still drones flying around, and maybe now people, since the drones have caused such an uproar, now like private people are flying their drones as well because they think it's funny to, create more fear. There are plenty of people out there like that. Fine. But some of the bigger drones that might look like aliens or UFOs, they would just be a projection. So like I said, I did a whole episode on this project. I'll link that in the show notes as well. If you want to go listen to that episode and you haven't listened to it, it's a really good one. So go check it out. Okay. The next theory is that big tech is involved somehow. So this theory is that basically the drones are being operated by Amazon or Google, and that either they are trying to gather data on consumers and exploit them and cause like more specific advertising, or that they are going to start delivering via drone. So I'm going to give you my opinions a little bit. I have a hard time believing that it's big tech just because they already have so much information from our cell phones that why put so much time and energy and effort and money into putting drones in the sky. Unless they're going to start delivering with them, that would be really cool. Although, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. Amazon could deliver with drones, maybe. I've heard it being talked about. I'm on the fence about this. I don't know if I like it. But that could be a reason why the drones are in the sky. And that is one of the theories that's being talked about on the internet. It could be AI taking over. So the use of drones is linked to fears about artificial intelligence taking over, and that AI would take over human decision-making and survey us to keep us in line. Or maybe they're just trying to get us used to drones in the sky. Did we ever think about that? Like, they aren't nefarious now, but in the future they might be. So by deploying these drones now, they are getting the world used to them. Like, maybe Big Brother is always watching. And as far as we know, these drones have been passive. I mean, there's a lot of theories that maybe they haven't been passive, but as far as we can 100% definitively say, they are passive. But this could be a way of them just getting us used to it. Like, if you see drones in the sky long enough, it won't be weird anymore. It's like when you look up and you see satellites or you see airplanes. Like, nobody freaks out because there's airplanes in the sky. So maybe they're just like trying to get us used to it because eventually they'll use them for something bad. Or they're trying to create a fear and instill submission from the public. That's also an option. But it could be a tactic to get more control. That's always a thing that they try to do, right? Especially our government. So the House lawmakers want to extend an expiring counter-drone authority. So they're creating a situation that makes people feel unsafe so that they can have more power. Again, it comes down to power or money. So the counter-drone authority would be given to the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice to counter drone threats. They came out and said, quote, "It's imperative that we not only make sure that the current authorities are extended to protect our national security, but also work together to responsibly reform the current legal authorities that provide federal agencies with critical tools to mitigate credible threats posed by UAS." So they want people to be scared because people give over control and power when they're scared. We saw it with 9/11. We saw it with COVID. We're seeing it again with the drones, potentially. I mean, what better way to convince the public to allow this authority to continue or to expand than to create a fear of drones? Although, again, this theory really only works in the US. That doesn't really explain why there's drones all over the world, unless everybody's trying to, pull the same tactic. But also these drones could be in the air in New Jersey specifically because they might have lost something and they're looking for it. That something is radioactive material. So apparently a shipping container arrived at its destination damaged and empty, like someone broke into it. And this happened at the beginning of December, so that could be why the drones started flying around at the beginning of December. Although, again, it doesn't account for drones flying all over the world or flying all over the US even. Really, it only accounts for the drones in New Jersey, and that's it. But I think these drones flying has really caused a conversation about privacy concerns. Like, whatever the reason they are flying these drones or whoever's flying these drones, it's caused some concerns about people's privacy. Like, if these drones are monitoring on us or spying on us, they're creating patterns of life, is this ethical? Is it okay that they are monitoring us and watching us, creating patterns of life, watching what people are doing? Is that something that is allowed? Are there laws against, like, privacy laws? Because as citizens in a free country, don't we have the right to privacy? Like, I know many big tech companies think that they don't have to respect our privacy, and they take all of our information on our apps and with our purchases and different ways that they're monitoring us already. Like, I get that. And we've signed off on it by signing the terms and conditions. But I feel like a drone flying in the sky is a huge violation of privacy. Because, like, if I don't want the government to know what I'm doing, I could leave my phone at home and leave, and they wouldn't necessarily be able to track me. Unless there's, like, a monitor in my car, which is pretty common right now, so you'd have to leave in, like, an older car. You could walk. But if there's drones in the air, they're constantly watching you. They always know where you are. And I'm pretty sure there's some dystopian movies and shows about this, like, whether you're constantly being watched. But then this got me thinking, like, why would they want to watch us? Is it because they want to determine, like, if we're going to commit some sort of heinous crime in the future? But, like, you can't determine that. I'm actually pretty sure there is a show about this. Person of Interest. Has anybody watched that? So it's about this computer, this AI that would predict, like, future crimes and who would commit them. And then this ex-CIA guy would go and kill this person because the computer said, like, oh, this is our target. This guy will potentially be a terrorist in the future, and they would kill him. I didn't watch the whole show. It was something my husband watched, and I just watched it in passing, so I don't really know all the ins and outs of the show. But this feels very much like that. But again, that's no way for people to live, like, worried that at any point they can be taken out because they said the wrong thing or they did the wrong thing or they misstepped, and now the government has decided, or some AI has decided, that they might be a threat in the future. It's really just no way for anybody to live. I did have a listener write in and give me a little bit of insight from this drone group that he is a part of. So the local New Jersey drone group on Facebook was noticing the drones just like everybody else, right? And then the local government was concerned, and they were concerned enough about this to reach out to some of these drone guys. And they're like, hey, if you know what these drones are and you know how to take them down, do it. So then these guys were like, yeah, okay, you don't have to tell us twice. So they did. They took one down. And it's not clear exactly how they took the drone down, but they got one, they took it down. Shortly after the drone goes down, a couple people in suits show up. Again, it's not really clear what three-letter agency they were a part of, or if they were like government contractors. Basically, like, we don't really know who these people were. But they were obviously paying attention enough to know exactly who took the drone down, because they showed up right away. But of course, we don't know where the drones are coming from. Anyway, so at first they congratulated and was like, well, good job, you took a drone down. Don't do that again. We're working on something. We need these drones in the air. Don't be taking them down. What that something is, of course, they did not say. But with stories like this, it lends to the credibility that these drones are actually flying and that they're actually doing something. Of course, this was in New Jersey. I don't know about all the drones all over the place. I think that most people are focusing on the drones in New Jersey, but I've seen videos of drones all over the US. I know that people are commenting on my posts and saying they're all over the world. So they're not isolated to New Jersey. But I would love to know what you guys think. If you guys have a theory, if you believe in one of these theories or multiple of these theories, because a couple can be true at the same time, for sure. It could be real drones and Project Bluebeam. I don't really know what it is. And I know you guys come here to, like, find out what the theory is. I don't really have, like, a perfect answer for you, but these are the theories that are on the internet, and this is what I found for you. So I hope it was helpful. But of course, until next week, my friends, stay skeptical, and I will see you all then. Hey friends, The Rabbit Hole is an independent podcast with everything you hear done by me, Danny Mercy. I appreciate all of your support. Please rate and review wherever you're listening. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at rabbit.holepodcast. And thank you, Zakar Balaha, for our awesome intro.